The unusual bride. The stars above the alien moon sparkled like silver flames. Soft wind moved across the tall blue grass. A small crowd of humans and aliens stood in a circle, holding glowing stones. In the center stood a man named Tom. He was wearing a formal black jacket, slightly nervous but trying to smile. Tom had traveled across the galaxy to marry someone no one ever expected, a tall, graceful alien woman named Lyra. Her skin had a soft shimmer like moonlight, and her long white hair flowed like mist. Lyra belonged to a peaceful species, known for their strict traditions and quiet wisdom. The two had met during a joint relief mission on a damaged planet. Tom was a human engineer. Lyra was a healer. Over many weeks, they shared meals, stories, and saved lives together. Friendship turned to something deeper. And now they were here, standing together beneath two moons. Tom glanced at Lyra. Her calm gaze met his, and she smiled gently. "You're ready?" she asked in her soft voice. "I think so," Tom replied, his heart beating fast. He had no idea what to expect after the ceremony. Their cultures were so different, yet something had always connected them. The wedding was short but beautiful. The elders of Lyra's people offered their blessing. Strange words were spoken and glowing. Sand was poured over their joined hands. In the end, they shared a simple kiss, and the crowd clapped in their strange clicking way. As the night deepened, guests left for their homes. Tom and Lyra were escorted to a private shelter, an ancient stone building, smooth and round-like. A pearl, it stood alone by a lake that reflected the moons like mirrors. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light. Flowers floated in the air, gently spinning. A low bed made of woven vines stood in the center. Tom looked around, unsure what would happen next. Lyra walked slowly to a wooden chest by the wall. She opened it and pulled out a long, silvery robe. Her expression changed, no longer gentle, but serious. She looked at Tom with eyes full of mystery. "It's time," she said. "For the ritual." Tom blinked. "The ritual?" Lyra nodded. "You must sit, and no matter what you see, do not interrupt." He slowly sat on the bed, unsure. His training taught him to respect other cultures, but he had no idea what was coming. Lyra stood in the center of the room. She raised her hands and spoke in a strange language, one Tom hadn't heard before. The air grew warmer. The floating flowers began to glow brighter. And then Lyra began to change. Her skin shifted color from silver to gold. Strange glowing. Lines appeared across her arms and face. Her hair rose, floating around her head like it was underwater. Then her body lifted from the floor, hovering a foot in the air. Tom sat frozen. Lyra's voice echoed in the air, both beautiful and haunting. Her eyes turned pure white. Symbols danced on the walls around her. The glowing sand from the wedding ceremony began to float and spin like a storm. And then it all stopped. Lyra gently floated back to the floor. Her skin returned to normal. Her eyes were soft again. She looked at Tom, breathing slowly. Tom could barely speak. What was that?" Lyra walked toward him. "The ritual is part of my people's tradition. A way to show we fully reveal our soul to the one we bind with. We become light. We show our true selves." Tom blinked. "And what if I had stopped you?" She sat beside him. "Then our bond would break forever. It is why I warned you." Tom smiled, still stunned. "Well, I'm glad I didn't move." Lyra laughed softly, resting her head on his shoulder. But deep inside, Tom wondered if this was just a wedding ritual. What else was hidden behind those glowing eyes? A royal secret. The morning sun on the alien moon rose slowly, casting golden rays through the crystal windows. Tom opened his eyes, still trying to process what he had seen the night before. The glowing sand, the floating symbols, Lyra's transformation, it all felt like a dream. But the soft sound of footsteps told him it was real. Lyra stood by the open window, wearing her silver robe again. She looked calm, but her eyes were focused on something far away. Tom sat up slowly. So, last night wasn't a dream? She turned to him with a small smile. No, it wasn't. Tom rubbed his face. Okay, good. Just checking. There was silence for a moment. Then Tom asked, do all your people do that? The glowing thing? Lyra walked toward him. Only those born of the first line. First line? He repeated. She sat beside him and gently took his hand. There's something I didn't tell you. I wanted you to marry me for who I am, not for what I am. Tom raised an eyebrow, heart starting to race. Okay, what are you? Lyra hesitated. Then she reached into a hidden fold of her robe and pulled out a small silver medallion. She pressed it to her chest, and the air shimmered. A holographic crest appeared in the air, a royal seal. Golden stars encircled a tall tree with twin moons behind it. Tom stared. Wait, is that? Yes, Lyra said quietly. I am the Empress. My people just don't know it yet. Tom blinked several times. You're kidding, right? Lyra shook her head. I've hidden my title for years. I left the palace, joined the healing corps, and lived as a commoner. I needed to know who I was without all the power. That's when I met you. He leaned back, trying to breathe. You're the heir to a galactic empire, and you married a human engineer. You're not just a human, she said, squeezing his hand. You're the only one who treated me like I mattered as a person, not a title. Tom didn't know whether to laugh or panic. So what happens now? You go back to rule the stars, and I fix more machines? Lyra smiled faintly. It's more complicated and more dangerous. Tom frowned. Dangerous? She nodded. There are those in my empire who don't want me to return. They believe the Empress died during the palace attack years ago. If they learn I survived and married a human, it could cause a war. A silent one. One fought with lies and assassins. Tom let out a low whistle. So, the wedding night ritual was also protection? Lyra nodded. It sealed us. You are now under the shield of the Empress, even if the galaxy doesn't know it yet. He chuckled weakly. I thought I was just getting a beautiful bride. Turns out I got a royal target on my back. Lyra's voice became firm. You can still walk away, Tom, if this is too much. No, he said quickly. I married you. Not just for your beauty or mystery. I said my vows, and I meant them. She looked at him, her expression softening again. Then there's something else I must show you. Before he could ask, the door burst open. A tall alien male stepped inside, his armor black and marked with sharp blue stripes. His eyes glowed faintly. Forgive me, Empress, the man said with a deep bow. But the council received word. A spy ship saw the ritual light. They know someone of the first line is alive. Tom stood quickly, instincts on alert. Who's this? My protector, Lyra said calmly. His name is Kale. He served my mother before me. Kale stepped forward. We must move. Now, your enemies will come. They will not allow this bond to survive. Tom looked at Lyra, and at Kale, and back again. I'm starting to think my honeymoon's going to be a bit different than I expected. Lyra stood and walked to him. You'll learn soon, Tom. Being with me means walking through fire. But we walk together. He nodded slowly. Then, let's walk. Lead the way, Empress. She smiled, and for a moment, the weight of the galaxy faded behind that look. But only for a moment. Asterisk. The road through shadows. The wind outside the stone shelter howled across the lake as Kale led Tom. and Lyra down a narrow path hidden beneath swaying trees with glowing blue leaves. The ground sparkled faintly with minerals, making their every step shimmer. Tom tried to keep up, but the gravity of the situation pressed heavily on him. Just yesterday, he had been preparing for a quiet life with his new wife. Now he was being rushed through alien wilderness by a royal guard while married to the hidden Empress of a galactic empire. "Are you sure this path is safe?" Tom asked, glancing behind them nervously. Kale answered without looking back. "No path is safe anymore. But this one is old, forgotten by most. It leads to the Keeper's Hall, our last sanctuary." Tom frowned. "Keeper?" Lyra, walking beside him, explained, "The Keeper is a guardian of royal bloodlines. He preserves old ways and protects truths the court tries to bury." "And he knows you're alive?" Tom asked. "He suspects. But until he sees me, he cannot act," she replied calmly. They walked for nearly an hour, through tall trees and glowing moss, until they reached a stone arch half buried in vines. Kale tapped on the arch with a strange rhythm. After a long pause, the stone shimmered and then split open. Asterisk behind it stood a narrow passage. The walls were smooth, the air warm. Inside, golden lights floated like fireflies. At the end of the hallway, a tall figure stood waiting. He was old, with skin like dark marble and eyes that shone silver. His robes were layered in symbols Tom didn't recognize. The man bowed deeply as Lyra stepped forward. "My keeper," she said gently. "My empress," the keeper replied, voice deep like rolling thunder. "The stars whispered your return. But I did not expect a human." He glanced at Tom. Lyra smiled and held Tom's hand. "This is Tom, my husband." He stood still through the right. He saw me and did not run. The keeper stepped forward and studied Tom closely. "Interesting. Most humans fear what they don't understand." Tom shrugged. "I fix engines. Not everything needs understanding to be respected." The keeper let out a low chuckle. "Then perhaps you're worth more than you appear." Asterisk. They entered the sanctuary. Inside were ancient scrolls, floating maps of old star systems, and large crystal windows that showed the night sky. Tom was amazed. He'd never seen anything like it. Lyra and the keeper spoke in low voices for a while. Tom sat nearby, trying not to touch anything. Kale stood watch at the doorway. Suddenly, the keeper raised his voice. "They already know you live. A hunter left the shadows this morning. Her name is Myra. She was once your cousin. Now she serves the shadow throne." Lyra's face tightened. Myra was loyal. "She is now loyal to the one who calls himself emperor," the keeper said gravely. "And she will not stop until you are silenced." Tom stood. "Then what do we do? Keep running?" The keeper turned to him. "No, you must awaken the flame." Lyra stiffened. "That's forbidden." "It was forbidden when there was peace," the keeper said. "Now there is none. The old weapon sleeps beneath the twin suns of your birth world. Only one who is bonded through the right can help you find it." Lyra looked at Tom, her expression unreadable. Tom blinked. "Let me guess. That's me." She nodded slowly. "The flame responds to those tied to the royal soul. The right made that connection." Tom looked around. "So I'm now the key to some ancient weapon?" "Not a weapon," the keeper corrected. "A protector, a living force, bound by love and loyalty." Kale stepped forward. "Then we must leave at first light." Tom took a deep breath. "Okay, so let me get this straight. I married an alien empress, survived a glowing soul ritual, escaped assassins, and now I'm the only one who can unlock some cosmic force hidden under twin suns?" Lyra walked up to him and touched his chest gently. "You're more than you believe, Tom. I saw that before I ever knew my crown would return. Tom smiled nervously. Guess it's too late for a quiet honeymoon now. Everyone chuckled lightly except Kale, who simply said, "Prepare. We move soon, and the galaxy is watching." Outside, in the shadows beyond the lake, a pair of glowing red eyes blinked. A silent figure crouched among the tall grass, whispering into a small device. "She's alive," it said. "And she has the human." Asterisk, the path to twin suns. The journey began before sunrise. Kale led the way through winding valleys while the stars still hung low in the sky. Behind him, Lyra moved. In silence, her expression focused. Tom followed close, eyes wide at the strange alien world that stretched endlessly in all directions. They rode on slender beasts, called Thrins, creatures with long legs and glowing horns that moved like silent shadows. The keeper had given them special cloaks that blended with the landscape, making them almost invisible to watchers above. "Will the flame really help us?" Tom asked, his voice barely above a whisper as they passed beneath hanging vines. "It's not a weapon you control," Lyra said softly. "It's a being older than our empire. It sleeps until a bond strong enough wakes it. The rite we performed. It made you part of that bond." Tom scratched his head. "So I'm like the ignition switch?" Kale, ahead of them, muttered, "More like the final key." For days they traveled through forgotten lands, ruins of cities swallowed by nature, broken statues of ancient rulers, and fields where flowers whispered in the wind. Each place seemed to know Lyra. Lights would flicker. Stones would hum beneath her feet. Tom noticed that even the creatures of the wild stepped aside as she passed, but the peace didn't last. On the fourth night, while they camped under a jagged rock formation shaped like a broken crown, Kale suddenly raised his hand. "Quiet," he whispered. Everyone froze. Then Tom heard it, a low hum in the distance. A faint pulse of energy. And footsteps. Dozens. Kale grabbed his blade. "Scouts. Shadow Throne. They followed our trail." "How?" Lyra whispered sharply. "They must have a seeker," Kale replied. "Someone who can trace bloodlines." Tom stood, his hand tightening on the small plasma tool the keeper had given him. "So we fight?" "No," Kale said. "We run. We're too close to stop now." Lyra touched Tom's hand. "Come. The twin suns rise tomorrow. We must reach the heart before they do." They ran through the night, Thrins galloping over stone and grass, chased by ghost-like shadows. When morning came, Tom nearly collapsed from exhaustion, but the sight before him stole his breath away. Two enormous suns rose over the edge of the world, burning gold and red. In the center of the valley below stood a massive crater, filled with blue mist. At its heart was a tower half buried, ancient, and glowing faintly. Around it, silver trees spiraled into the air like frozen lightning. "That's it," Lyra whispered, "the heart of flame." Tom felt something stir inside his chest. His hand, which had touched Lyra during the rite, began to glow faintly. So did hers. Kale glanced behind them. "No time. They're close." They rushed down into the crater, mist clinging to their legs, air buzzing with energy. As they reached the base of the tower, Tom looked up. "I don't see any door." Lyra held out her hand, and the stones responded. A circle of symbols lit up under her palm. She looked at Tom. "Place your hand next to mine." He did. A sudden heat passed through his skin, but it didn't hurt. It felt like fire. And trust. The tower trembled. Stone cracked. Then it opened. Inside was a chamber bathed in golden light. At the center floated a sphere of pure flame, silent and still. Tom stared. "That's the flame?" "Yes," Lyra said. "But it's not awake yet." Behind them, a sharp cry echoed. Kale stepped into the doorway, blocking it. "They're here." Tom turned back to the flame. "What do I do?" Lyra stepped closer. You must speak your truth. The bond we share, speak it out loud. Let it. Hear your heart. Tom swallowed hard. He took a deep breath and stared into the fire. I didn't come here to be a hero. I just wanted to fix things, to be useful. And somehow, I found her. And I love her, not for what she is, but for who she is. The flame pulsed. I didn't know what the right really meant. I didn't know about empires or wars or power. But I do know this, I'll stand beside her. Always. The flame exploded in light. A deep voice filled the chamber. The bond is true. Lyra's eyes widened. It's waking. Outside, Kale shouted. They're breaking through. Tom reached out. The flame rushed into him. His eyes turned gold. The sky above cracked with thunder. And the galaxy began to feel the shift. Asterisk, the chamber shook as the flame merged with Tom. Golden energy spiraled around him like a living storm. His body rose into the air, suspended in the heart of the glowing tower. His eyes glowed with golden fire and the ancient symbols. On the walls blazed to life. Lyra shielded her eyes as the energy surged outward. He did it, she whispered. He really did it. Kale's voice echoed from the doorway. They're inside. Lyra rushed forward, reaching toward Tom. Tom, can you hear me? His body gently floated down. When his boots touched the ground again, the glow dimmed, but a faint fire still burned in his eyes. He looked at her slowly. I'm here, but something's changed. I feel it. It's like I can hear the tower breathe. Before she could answer, Kale stumbled into the room, bleeding from his shoulder. They brought hunters, 3 of them. Fast, cloaked, and cruel. Lyra helped him to sit. Can you still fight? Kale gave a tired nod. Always. Tom stepped forward. Let me go. I think I can stop this. Tom, Lyra started, but he raised a hand. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I won't let them take you from me. He walked to the doorway, and the moment he stepped outside, the mist obeyed him, clearing a path, lifting around him like armor. The Thrins, still waiting, bowed their heads as he passed out. At the edge of the crater stood 3 dark shapes hunters in tight black suits with glowing red visors. Each held weapons, humming with energy. One stepped forward. A tall woman with silver tattoos across her face. Her voice was sharp and cold. You bonded with the Empress. That was a mistake. Tom said nothing. She pointed her weapon. Step aside, human. She's a traitor to her bloodline. Tom slowly raised his hand. The hunter fired, but the beam bent. It curved around Tom like water hitting a stone. The energy hit the ground behind him and vanished into steam. The hunters froze. I didn't want this, Tom said calmly, his voice echoing with power. But I won't let you touch her. The ground cracked beneath his feet. Light rose from the soil like lightning, caught in vines. The trees swayed, not from wind but from fear. The second hunter charged, blades drawn. Tom moved without thinking. The fire in his chest guided him. He raised one hand and the ground opened. The attacker vanished into a sudden pit of glowing roots, which closed behind him like a mouth. The last hunter tried to run, but a circle of flame appeared around her. Feet thin, quiet, and final. She screamed once, then vanished into light. The leader stepped back, fear breaking through her cold mask. What are you? Tom looked at her, the golden fire now dimmer, but steady in his eyes. I'm her husband. He raised one hand again, but she dropped her weapon and ran into the woods. Kale stepped beside Lyra at the entrance of the tower. He's not just human anymore. Lyra watched silently. No, he's bonded, and now the Empire will feel it. Tom walked back to them slowly, his step sure. The flame is quiet now, he said. It's waiting, but I can feel its memory. The wars, the betrayals, the peace it once kept. Lyra reached for him. And will it help us? Tom took her hand. It already is. Cale glanced toward the horizon. We can't stay. That was only a scout group. The real army will come next. Lyra nodded. Then we take the flame and go to the Starside Gate. The loyal ones still watch from the edges. If we show them what's returned, they'll rise, Cale finished. Tom looked between them. So what's next? We build an army? No, Lyra said. We remind the galaxy what truth feels like. He smiled. Then let's give them a reason to believe. Far above, hidden behind the clouds, a satellite relayed a signal. In a dark hall deep in space, a man in silver armor stood from his throne. So, the flame has returned, he said, voice filled with dread. The courtiers around him fell silent. The Empress lives, the man whispered. And she has a human. He turned to his generals. Prepare every world. The final game has begun. Asterisk, the Starside Gate awakens. The sky above them turned violet as the twin suns lowered. Tom, Lyra, and Cale rode fast through the canyon paths, their thrins galloping hard across old stone roads. The flame inside Tom remained calm, but he could feel its quiet pulse with every heartbeat. Their destination was the Starside Gate, an ancient outpost buried within the cliffs of the far reaches, where those still loyal to the true line of the Empress once gathered in secret. Tom glanced at Lyra. Are you sure they'll help? They served my mother, Lyra said. They vanished after the false emperor took the throne. But if they see the flame, and see me, they'll rise, Cale finished from the front. They reached the cliffs as the first stars began to show. Hidden by the shadow of night, the group dismounted and walked to a wall of jagged stone. Lyra placed her palm against a flat surface. They sealed it with memory stone. It only responds to blood. A faint glow appeared. The stone melted inward, revealing a hidden staircase spiraling deep into the mountain dot. As they descended, Tom felt the walls pulse faintly like the tower that held the flame. This place remembered her. Remembered them. Dot at the bottom, a large hall opened. Dozens of armored figures stood in silence, their faces hidden by ancient masks of smooth silver. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then one stepped forward. His voice echoed deeply. Name yourself. I am Lyra of the First Line, she said clearly. Daughter of Alina, rightful Empress of the Silver Crown, and I bring the flame. Tom stepped beside her, his eyes glowing faintly. The masked figure dropped to one knee. We remember. One by one, the others followed. Dozens of warriors knelt before her. Tom whispered, Well, that worked. They were led into a grand chamber carved into the rock. Maps of the Empire flickered on walls, showing systems lost and taken. Lyra stood before them and raised her hand. We no longer hide. The flame has awakened. The false Emperor will know we are coming. A murmur passed through the hall. One woman stepped forward, removing her mask. Her face was marked by scars and age, but her voice was strong. If we rise to finish this. No more waiting. No more fear. We don't fight alone, Lyra said. We fight with truth, and this time, the flame stands with us. Tom stepped forward, unsure but firm. I'm no general, but I carry something ancient now. It chose me because I believed in her, not in a throne, not in power. Just her. And if that's enough, then I'll help however I can. The old warrior bowed her head. That's more than enough. The meeting ended with planned ships would launch from deep vaults, messengers sent through hidden wormholes. A signal was prepared to reach the last free worlds. But far above, in the throne world of the false emperor, another plan was forming. Dark-haired man stood before a massive screen showing Tom's face. A human, he growled. How fitting, weak, untrained, and he carries the flame? A woman beside him spoke softly. He survived the rite, my lord. That alone proves he is not ordinary. The emperor turned. Then he dies first, not with ships or armies. Send her. The woman bowed. Myra, yes, he hissed. Let the cousin finish what the fire began. Back at the Starside Gate, Tom stood alone near a cliff ledge. The stars stretched above him, clear and endless. The flame inside him was quiet, but he felt it thinking, almost listening. Lyra joined. Him, her hand resting on his arm. Are you afraid? She asked. He nodded. Yeah, a little. I was just a guy who fixed engines. Now I'm the soul bond of the Empress, and carrying something that could shake the galaxy. She smiled gently. You're more than that. You always were. The flame saw it before you did. He looked at her. You really think we can win? She nodded. Not because of the flame, not even because of me, but because of us together. Suddenly, a sharp alert rang through the chamber. Kale burst through the doors. Something's breached the outer gate. Lyra's smile faded. Already? Tom stood quickly. The flame feels it. She's close. Who? Kale asked. Lyra's voice was cold and sharp. Myra, my cousin. Tom's eyes narrowed. Then let her come. The Starside Gate went silent. A deep, unnatural stillness filled the ancient. Hall as warriors took their positions. The air thickened like the sky itself was holding its breath. Tom stood at the front beside Lyra, his fingers warm with the pulse of the flame. The golden light in his eyes shimmered, brighter than before. The closer Myra came, the stronger the flame reacted. Kale approached with urgency. She passed every guard. They're not dead, just unconscious. That's her style, Lyra whispered. Precise. Silent. She doesn't waste pain. From the shadows of the entrance, a figure stepped forward. Myra. She wore smooth, midnight black armor that shifted with light. Her long hair flowed behind her like smoke, and her eyes glowed faintly blue. In her hand was a thin blade that hummed with cold energy. Tom felt the flame flicker inside him. Not with fear, but something else. Recognition. Lyra took a single step forward. You've come. Myra stopped several paces away. Her voice was calm. You performed the rite. You bonded with him? Lyra didn't flinch. I did. Myra's eyes shifted to Tom. Human. Do you even know what she gave up to choose you? Tom met her gaze. She told me, and I chose her too. Myra tilted her head. Then you know why I'm here. I was told to end this. Kale stepped forward, hand on his blade, but Lyra raised a hand. No, she speaks with me. Tom nodded. And with me. Myra's brow twitched. You're not royalty. You're not trained. The flame should have burned you alive. It didn't, Tom said, taking a slow step closer. Because it listens to what's real. And what's real is this. I love her. I would have done that without any flame, without any title. Just her. Myra's voice was softer now. And if I strike you down, what happens? Tom paused. The flame stirred. He looked at her gently. I think the flame breaks, and maybe something worse wakes up. A silence followed. Then Lyra spoke, voice full of sorrow. You were like a sister once. We trained together. Danced under the moons. Why follow the false emperor? Myra closed her eyes. Because he saved us when the court fell. Because when your mother died, no one stood. Not even you. I was a child, Lyra whispered. You were next, Myra said, stepping forward, tears in her voice. And I waited. I waited for you to rise. But you disappeared. I had to find myself. Lyra replied. Not the throne, me. And now I return not to rule, but to rebuild. Myra's blade lowered an inch. And the human? Tom stepped between them. I won't fight you, but I won't let you hurt her either. The flame rose around him, golden fire curling in the air like wings. Myra's eyes widened. You are bonded, she said softly. The blade dropped from her fingers. Then Mira knelt that asterisk. I failed you, she said to Lyra. But if there's still a path, I'll follow it. Lyra ran to her and dropped to her knees, embracing her cousin. Around them, silence broke into quiet tears. Even Cale lowered his head. Tom exhaled, the flame dimming gently in his chest. But the peace didn't last. Above the gate, a message blared across every channel. This is the Emperor. The traitor lives. The flame has returned. Any system offering her shelter will face total cleansing. You have one cycle to surrender. The message ended. Tom looked around. That didn't sound like a bluff. Cale turned. He'll send the armada. Lyra rose, her voice like steel. Then we send something greater. Tom nodded slowly. The flame? No, she said, taking his hand. Hope. We broadcast the truth. We show the bond. The ritual. You, me. We remind them what real leadership looks like. Within hours, they stood before the galaxy, streaming a message from the oldest transmitter in the gate. Lyra stood proud. I am Lyra of the first line, daughter of Alina. I do not seek a throne, I seek to heal. And this human beside me carries the flame because he saw me, not my power. Tom stepped forward. And I chose her because she stood for what was right, even when it meant running. But now she's done running. And so am I. The flame flickered across the stars. And slowly one system after another. Banners changed. The Empire trembled. A human had changed the galaxy. Not with a weapon, but with love. The end